Okay, thank you very much for joining in today. My name is Oren, and with me, Branislav, and we will present today, and we will talk a bit about Autodesk licensing. As usual, I'm more into communication and discussion. So if you want to say something, I invite you. We can open the microphone. If you want to write on chat, write on chat. We don't know everything. You know better than us. So please share your information and comment with us. We are looking forward to that. So let's just start and talk about a bit about the history of Autodesk licensing. So the first release of Autodesk was in 1982, and it was released as a software on floppy disk with a dongle licensing, which is still very popular today with many software systems. In 1999, Autodesk switched to a license manager called LM License Manager, which was discontinued. It doesn't exist today. And in 2002, to our great Flex LM. Since then, Autodesk tried many times to go out of the networking licensing, which was amazing for customers, but I think it showed less benefit for Autodesk as a publicly traded company, less value from customer. And they did many changes. In 2015, they actually introduced the subscription, which was a named licensing for Autodesk. And it moved on with delays, many delays, but finally in 2020, there are no more network licenses that you can purchase from Autodesk. So I would like to shortly introduce our company. We are OpenLM, and we are here to help you with your licensing. We specialize on engineering and specialty licensing. These are some of our team members, and let's dive into Autodesk licenses directly. We'll start by reviewing what kind of licensing model Autodesk is offering to us in 2022. So the best model for licensing, which is not offered anymore, are network licenses. This is based in Autodesk. It's based on the Flex LM license manager, and it provided a flexible time-sharing licensing for Autodesk. This is actually the second vendor we ever supported since we established the company 15 years ago. We started with the Esri software, and then we got many requests to support Autodesk, and this was the second license manager. It's a very good model for customers because customers that wants to manage it can get a very optimal usage of the network licenses, and we can talk about that later. The second model that is offered today is Tokenflex. Tokenflex was introduced a few years ago, and it's a solution for very big organization. As a small company, you can't come to Autodesk and tell them, I want to get Tokenflex. They won't let you. It's something that is offered by Autodesk to big organization. It's a disposable token policy. So you buy a token, you buy an amount of token. We're usually talking about millions. So from what we know, we're talking about 10 million tokens, 7 million tokens. These are the amounts that big customers are buying. There is a rate for the use of each licenses for a time period of 24 hours, and it's disposable. So you buy the amount, you're using it, and by the end of the year, it's either you utilized everything to the last token, or you missed the estimate and you pay a much higher rate for the additional token, or you maybe lose some of your tokens that you didn't utilize on the year. There are many pitfalls here and that we will talk about later, but it's important to mention maybe that this is actually one of the only licensing method that exists today that doesn't require an internet connection. So you can utilize without internet connection. That's why it's targeted to big organizations. The next model was recently introduced is Autodesk Flex, and it's also a disposable token licensing based method based on the cloud. So this is a cloud solution. The previous one, Tokenflex, was actually based on FlexLM. And this one is a completely new one. It's based on cloud licensing. So there is a license server on the cloud. You need to connect to it. And the method is that you buy a set of tokens and you can allocate users to use it. It's flexible, but it's very expensive. So it's a good solution for occasional users. So it's not for everyone, and we need to understand when it's right to use it. We will discuss that. And the last model offered by Autodesk is subscription. So basically, this is the Autodesk Named Licensing that was introduced in 2015. Previously, there were two different options. So one is a single user, and second is a multi-user subscription. This continues. So it's only a single user now. And the idea is that you buy a subscription to the user to use either a specific product or an industry package, a package of products that are designed to address a specific industry. It can be architecture, engineering, construction, all the BIM tools, which contains Revit, 3D, AutoCAD, Navisworks. There is a package for project design and manufacturing, so it's Inventor, Navisworks, media and entertainment, which is very popular, 3D Max, 3ds, Motion Builder, and so on. So there are all specific products, Revit, Inventor, AutoCAD. So there are different options as fit to what you need to do. So these are the four models of licensing that exist today. And here I would like to switch the presentation to Branislav to talk about users and usage patterns.
Okay, thank you, Oren. So I'm just going to add one more disclaimer because you did a great summary of the models, but one thing that you missed when talking about the Tokenflex, the enterprise model, is actually that, yes, you get the tokens for the year, but usually when you opt for a multi-year contract with Autodesk, they are willing to give you a sort of multi-year token as well. So, you know, you have the tokens that you can spend for the year. And in case you go overboard, you have a usually smaller pool of tokens that are there for the duration of the whole contract. So it doesn't actually happen to you, what you said, because if you are missing these multi-year tokens, you can go overboard, and every additional token purchase is usually a lot higher. The price is a lot higher compared to what you got for the whole contract. So it's a way for Autodesk to give you a sort of buffer. But of course, if you don't spend them at all, you have overpaid the contract a lot.
Right.
Anyway,
but I need to mention also that all these details are secret. So
yes,
you sign a contract with the customer that says you are not allowed to reveal the rates and the condition, the specific conditions that you have with Autodesk.
It's actually one of the questions that we get. So do you know, do OpenLM, hey guys, do you know, so what's the price for the token? Or do you know what is the token cost for the application? And there are some, you can find on the internet, like what's the average probably, but of course you can always go and negotiate this. And this is something that you cannot reveal, and we have no way of knowing. So, it's all about how good you are actually negotiating with Autodesk.
Right. That's why when we designed our support for Tokenflex, we set it in a way that you set your rates and all the conditions in front of the system. But
okay, so let's talk a little bit about the Autodesk users. So we can, of course, categorize these users into different categories. So who are the around-the-clock users? Who are the shift workers? Let's call them shift workers. Now, these are one of the primary targets of the Autodesk application, like what I mentioned. Whether it's the CAD designers just doing AutoCAD, or the more complex modeling that are being done in Inventor, or it's the media guys doing it in the 3ds. It doesn't matter. These are the people who actually work around the clock. So Autodesk application portfolio, or an individual Autodesk application, is something that is their primary tool for their job. So they come to the office at the beginning, in the morning, they start the application, and for the duration of their shift, they actually work with the program primarily. So we are looking something maybe not 8 hours per day, but something averaging those 6.5 hours a day. So these are your standard users. Now, they use the product most of the time. Of course, they may use something that's supplementary to their work that comes from another vendor, but let's assume for the purpose of this discussion that these are let's call them Autodesk designers, or primary Autodesk users. So they work with the product most of the day. So let's go to the significant usage. So this again, we are moving to a different group, because, as you know, especially in the bigger environments, in the bigger customer environments, there are users who will use the Autodesk product portfolio, but it won't be for that average almost full shift every day, but it will be something less, maybe half a shift, maybe 4 hours a day, because the nature of their work is more complex, and the Autodesk portfolio is not good enough. They need to also use some other tools. So, and this is, as you can see, the pattern will emerge here. So it's becoming harder to justify paying for a full license for such user. So let's move to the other one. And these we call them occasional users. This is where it becomes complicated, because Autodesk application portfolio is so varied. You can do so many different things with it that you actually will have users in your organizations who start AutoCAD every once in a while because they want to do some basic design. I always use the example of facility managers, the person who is responsible for running your tech center, and he just needs to design a new room, or he just needs to design an electrical wiring. You may have a manager of a hotel that is using AutoCAD to design the layout. You may have a church that is using AutoCAD to do their floor design. I think you get where I'm going. These will be the users where it's really hard to actually find out the pattern. So when is this person really requiring an Autodesk product? And it's also becoming very hard to justify paying for a full-blown license for somebody who may only start AutoCAD, for 2 hours a month, create his design, and then move on. Not to mention that from experience, I know personally, because I've been working with it, that the pitfall of these users is also that they may not even know that you have a subscription or a contract with Autodesk. They may be used to going through their local vendor and just paying for an Autodesk key for the past 7 years. And it can be very hard to convince them, hey, but our organization, we actually have something with Autodesk. You don't need to pay for your AutoCAD locally for double the price probably than what we are getting with our bigger level contract. So these are the basic types of users. The last one are just viewers. And this is something, that is not really applicable only to our Autodesk discussion here, but overall in the CAD design world, you will have users. Usually these people will be the lead engineers or maybe the managers of the engineering teams who don't really even need to do any edit work. They just need to see and confirm and approve of the design. And again, it's become very hard to justify paying for a full-blown CAD license for somebody who only needs to view. And this is where you, on top of actually measuring the utilization, the usage of the product, need to think about the business case behind it. Maybe there is a cheaper product on the market that can view the drawing and you don't need to pay for the full-blown license. Okay, back to you, Oren.
Okay, so actually this part, maybe we can talk about that together. I would just introduce. The question that always raises is, should I use one licensing method? So, for example, okay, I don't want to deal with the complexity. Let me just get subscription for everyone and forget about it. So I won't think too much about what are they doing or are they utilizing, or should I try to be more optimized so I will get the right license for the right person, which requires more management. And I will let Branislav quickly talk about different type of organizations.
Okay. So, for the small organization, it actually can be pretty straightforward because it's we are always talking about business case. Like this presentation for me and Oren, when we discussed it yesterday, is not really about telling what OpenLM and how OpenLM can do it. We can do it at the end, or we can answer your questions, but more about trying to present the different cases in the world. So for the smaller organization, it is actually pretty straightforward because it's very easy to measure the activity. It's very easy to measure the usage, and it's very easy to pair that up with what is the valid cases for the user. So it's very easy to say I have 10 designers and I know that these guys, they work with the Autodesk products all day. So it is very easy to justify and just go with the subscription model, as Oren said, get the license for everybody. You don't need to worry about it anymore. Maybe you can do some small optimizations here and there, but that's about it. Now,
but one note about that, for sure, the small organization doesn't have many choices. So you can only use subscription and Tokenflex, Autodesk Token, not Tokenflex, Autodesk Token. That's the two options you can play with.
Yeah. For the medium organization, now this is the point where it becomes a little bit more blurry, like I said, because in here we can start expecting that there will be overlapping responsibilities, or how we establish that there may be some people who really need the Autodesk applications here and there, but not always. So it becomes harder to justify to actually get the license for everybody, because the subscription license, for whatever it's worth, it is expensive. And if you really have somebody who uses the product for 15 hours in total over the course of the year, paying for a full-blown license, it's something that, if you are really looking at optimizing, it's something that is hard to justify. So for the medium organization, where this actually comes is more of a hybrid model. So you need to go there, check the usage, of course, check the business case. And for the people who really need to work with the products for most of the duration of their work time, it's feasible to go for the subscription. But for the occasional users, it can actually be much more effective to utilize the Autodesk Flex model. And for enterprise, like this is, and this is going to be my personal opinion, but I think enterprises should keep on going and pushing to utilize the Autodesk Tokenflex model. It's basically an evolution of the original network concurrent model. It's the best that you can go, because you don't really need to think that hard about the business cases. If somebody really needs to draw a floor of your new hotel room for 1 hour a year, they can just start the AutoCAD, get those 7, 8, 16 tokens, how many you have agreed to spend for Autodesk with your one AutoCAD launch, do the design, the tokens get deducted, and you paid to Autodesk exactly what it was worth for that user to work, for those 24 hours.
Yeah.
Thank
you.
For enterprise, really. And, we are all in this together. And I'm pretty open and honest in my opinions. It's the users, the customers. We still need to show the software vendors that we don't want the network, the concurrent model to die. Even if it should be a Tokenflex model instead of the standard, one concurrent user gets one license. It's still important to maintain that. I think for the customers, this is the optimal model, and we don't want it to die.
Thank you. So we made it halfway. We have exactly 38 slides. So we'll try to speed it up from now, and I will try to share some ideas about how to manage hybrid licensing, which about small and medium, I think both applies to hybrid licensing. It's not, there is no difference. That's my personal view. Let's talk about the challenges. But I'm saying I've seen some places where a few years ago I spoke with a guy and saying, you have network licenses, good. Let's talk about optimization. So I don't care. I buy network license for each user. I have 50 engineers. I buy 50 licenses. So people that don't care, they don't have any problem. If you want to squeeze each drop of the juice from your investment, you need to work and you need to understand the challenges. So first thing is data. Without data, we can't start to talk about license management and taking decision. And it's even much more critical now than before when we had network licenses. A good system must be based on data. And when looking on this slide, as you see, we chose the theme of bridges to this presentation. And I must say a few words about this famous bridge, which is Brooklyn Bridge, was opened in 1883, so more than 120 years ago. And it 140 now. It's over the New York East River, connected the two parts of the city, Brooklyn and Manhattan. It's 1,600 feet long, and it carries about 150 vehicle pedestrians every day. The guy that built it, Roebling, the story is very interesting, so I must tell it. He was born in Germany, studied in industrial engineering in Berlin, and immigrated to the US in the age of 25, trying to become a farmer in Pennsylvania. But he failed and went to back to engineering and opened a wire cable factory. At that time, there were suspension bridges, but they tend to fail under strong winds and heavy loads. Problems that he managed to solve in different engineering methods. He actually got the approval to build the bridge. He suggested in 1867. But unfortunately, when he took measurement using a compass reading across the river, a boat hit his leg and he just died 3 weeks later. And actually, his son completed the project. Interesting fact is that in 1884, they wanted to prove that the bridge is stable, and they just led 21 elephants over the bridge in order to prove its stability. So we spoke about the data. Let's get back to licensing. We spoke about the data, and now what we can do based on the data are allocations. So in network licensing era, allocation was something we didn't encourage users to do, because when you allocate the licenses, you make the network license, which is dynamic license, you make it a stable license. But now we have to use allocation, but we need to do it right, and it needs to be based on data. And the question is what license to allocate to which user, and I would like to say a word about the economy of allocation. So as Branislav presented, the two main models that are available to small and medium organization is actually subscription and Autodesk Flex. So I wrote token, it should be Autodesk Flex. And if you see the chart, when the blue line represents subscription, so I chose a package, and it doesn't matter which, and it's about $155 per month. And this is a permanent cost. It doesn't matter how much time you utilize the license, you pay the same cost. You can do something different. You can go to the site, buy tokens, and the cost per token is $2.85 per token. And the charge is this product is 7 tokens for 24 hours. So if we draw it, we see the breakpoint is about 7 days. So if you use it up to 7 days, and you chose Autodesk Flex, you got a better deal. If not, you should use a subscription. A note about other economic thinking. So Tokenflex, as we said, is always better. If you can still buy network licenses from Autodesk, do it. Do it, it's the best. Tokenflex, network licenses. And if you can still use your existing network licenses, that's a solution for many customers. I'm speaking with them, they're still utilizing them until they can still use the elder models of the software. At this stage, I invite you, if you want to share with us about other consideration, we would be happy to. Branislav, any comment here before we run forward quickly?
No. I want to. This is how, like we discussed it yesterday. Like, you know, there may be something that we are missing, and if we are missing something, if there is somebody in the audience, guys, that wants to like talk to us or say, guys, you missed something. You know, we have this very special combo in our organization that you haven't mentioned. Please, now is the time. Tell us. You know, open up your microphones, write it in chat. We would like to make these webinars more interactive. It's not just us two talking all the time, but listening, because I can imagine that there are variables of licensing. Maybe your organization is using all 4 models at the same time. Because reasons we would like to know, you know, let's make this more interactive. Like, let's help each other here. So anybody wants to share something with us?
Yes, I see a note that 98% is already phased out of multi-licenses. Yes. I still think, thank you, Torben. I still think that some customers do know how to buy network licenses, but I don't have an evidence for that. I will continue, but we invite you to share with us. So let's move forward and see what's the pitfalls of the licensing. In some cases, we don't cover everything, just too long. It will take too much time. So tokens are for 24 hours. It doesn't matter if you use Tokenflex or you are using Autodesk Flex, the new token based on cloud. Tokens are for 24 hours. I heard that there is in Tokenflex, there is also 48 hours, but I'm not sure about it. But basically it's 24 hours. And regardless which model you're using, if the software is not closed, then you're losing money. The tokens are consumed. So imagine someone pulling the license on Friday morning, using it all day, leaving it open, going home. It consumes another token on Saturday morning, another token on Sunday morning. He's coming back on Monday, and you actually paid 2 days consumption of tokens for nothing. This is relevant for the two models, and we can handle that. The second is about allocation. So allocations are static compared to the flexible model of network licensing. You pull the license, you use it, you return the license back to the license pool. But tokens are, allocations are static, but you are able to log into the interface and change the allocation. By the way, it's also existed with FlexLM, with network named licensing. But here we need to go to the network. We go to the vendor site, Autodesk, and change the allocation. So are there any limitations? I don't know. I'm asking you, can I change it daily? Can I change it for a user? Now you have it, now you don't. I put someone else. This is a question. We need to check the contract in order to stay compliant in that sense. Subscription is for a user, and the user needs to log in with his email, private email, not AutoCAD 10@yourdomain.com. Autodesk doesn't like that. The licensing is for a user. It should be a user end user email, and you have 3 devices. So the thinking is one machine at work, one machine at home, maybe a tablet or something. That's all, and not at the same time. So if you open the software at work, you don't open it on another machine. This is something that Autodesk will not manage for you. They expect you to manage that. And we can all read in LinkedIn and different forums about the problem. Autodesk is completely non-tolerant to these cases, and people pay significant money for that. Another consideration is the online connectivity of the system. So basically, all the licensing methods available today require you to connect. So even the subscription license requires you to connect every 30 days to the network. What if you can't? You can't connect, you have a closed network. This is something I don't know. Also, one would be happy to learn about that also. Other consideration I want to mention is regarding Tokenflex and Autodesk tokens. So in Tokenflex, you actually install FlexLM servers within your organization. It can be one, it can be more. The license server location is critical because it needs, you are charged by the license server time zone. So in case the license server is not on the same time zone as the user, a user that starts his shift in 8 o'clock in the morning and finishes at 5 o'clock in the evening will pay 2 sessions, 2 tokens, twice the charge for 1 single working day. And this is critical. And you can watch our video that explains that in detail in our YouTube channel. Sudipta can provide the link. You need to also decide on the number of tokens in advance. As we spoke, it's a challenge. It's a challenge. It's not easy to know. And the only way to know is to have data. And we will talk about that. Regarding to Autodesk tokens, think about, I want to give you a small example for thinking. So let's say in one point in time, a month ago, I reviewed the activities of 2 of my engineers and decided one will get a token and the other will get a subscription. Now I go home happy, I did a good work, and I can do other things. I'm doing other things. And as time passes by, projects are changing. The requirement of customers are changing. And the engineer that used to access the system occasionally, because that was the project at the time, is now accessing it a lot, and I'm paying hundreds of dollars for something I could pay 150, and for the other, is not using it at all because the project changing. So this is something, it's not a single time decision. It's something that you track, you need the data, and you need to change accordingly. I will move forward because we don't have a lot of time and we want to leave some space for discussion and question. Managing your Autodesk licensing. So what do we need? When we manage our license, what do we need? We need real-time data. We need to know what's going on in any point in time. We need a detailed data. Eventually, you need a session data. You need to know license was used since this hour to that hour. There is not much use in charts that tell me, okay, this user used it for 2 days. I don't know what is this 2 days. What, 5 minutes, 10 minutes? When, why? That's not helpful. Analysis reporting system. So having the data is not enough. We need a way to query it, to get the data out of it, and we must have connectivity to IT systems. I need to connect to directory, to project, in order to charge back to groups. I need to have this connectivity, and I need to have a comprehensive view. Looking on a single system and saying, okay, I have a management system for Autodesk. Very good. We have customers that manage 200 different vendors. So what? I'm as the admin, I will log in today to Autodesk, I will do some work. Tomorrow I will log into another system and then to another. It's impossible. We need one system that takes all the licensing and brings everything to a common ground. So I just say a few words about Autodesk solution. So Autodesk is offering us a $300 subscription per user, and they provide their solution for their product. As I said, it's a system. They do synchronize the directory, and this is good, but it's not real time. It's limited very limited in the report. It's mostly summaries. This number of users use this product, this number of users, and so on. So you can check it by yourself. We are offering a comprehensive solution for your licensing. It's not for Autodesk, it's for everything, also of Autodesk. We are covering all licensing methods, regardless what you choose to use. Autodesk Flex is not yet in, it will be very, very soon. It does require an agent because we collect data based on session-based, and we offer two types of agents. One is operating system agent. You can install any platform. It will monitor Autodesk and other software, or a dedicated agent for Autodesk, an extension. You can just install an extension and you get all the functionality. It's fully synced. There is a session level data. It will synchronize with directories and everything. And we will actively shut down the session when relevant, as we spoke about the token. Yes, so I want to leave space for discussion. So thank you very much for joining in first, and we would like to talk. So let's open everything and start.
So Oren, we have questions first from Torben. It's a compliance questions, not too much out of scope. He is asking that if OpenLM can scan workstation, and he also mentioned that Autodesk has some unreasonable compliance rules seen the latter weeks, invalid serial numbers like 400 and that number on legacy programs, NLM, makes you incompliant even though switch to named user license model, and SN has no relevance. Then the similar one, existence of older programs like Revit 2015 makes you incompliant even though you don't utilize them. So question is if OpenLM can scan workstation.
Okay, so I will answer the first part and then so OpenLM with Autodesk typically we supported the network licensing, and that's why we don't scan the workstation. Our approach is was always to manage the network licensing. Now that we are getting into the allocation model, it should be the same. So okay, I install the software, I now remove the allocation. It should be okay from the point of Autodesk because there is no license allocated, but I understand it's not. Branislav, maybe you have more experience.
I want to extensively answer because I've been through this. And so Torben, I don't know what kind of a contract you have with Autodesk, but this is something that is a general problem, especially for bigger companies. It's why I actually used my facility manager purchasing a local license example, because this is something that applies here. So in many organizations, no matter what type of a contract you have with Autodesk, if you are a corporation, it's highly likely that you have Autodesk users that purchase the licenses separately. They purchase it through a local vendor. You know, they purchase the old school where they got the serial number and they imported it in. But now your organization is also maybe having enterprise Tokenflex, or you have the subscription. And now, when an Autodesk audit happens, it's a matter of actually proving what you own, what you are entitled to, and what you are not. And Autodesk is pretty strict with their global contracts that you usually can do N-5, I believe. I don't think they change it. So you are entitled to use like 2022 N-5, so down to 2017. That's an example with their enterprise Tokenflex. So if you have AutoCAD installations, let's use AutoCAD as the example, that are 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, you are fine. Everything below that is actually non-compliant. And bear in mind, it can become a problem because it can still work with your license, but it's not compliant from Autodesk perspective. Like you are mentioning, you have Revit 2015. The other problem, and this is where it goes away from the topic of technical, but more into the topic of legal and business, is so if you have old purchases and you can prove that you purchased that software, and you can prove that software is not taking the network license or the Tokenflex license or the subscription license, but it's working with the serial number, because if you buy a software with the perpetual license, which is basically what this was many years back, you should still be entitled to use that. but you need to prove, and you need to have the proof of the purchase. And that can sometimes be hard because, again, and I'm going to use my facility manager example, if this person bought it with a company credit card 7 years back, it's very hard to do it. If they went through the standard purchasing process and there is a record in your SAP and you have a quotation added and the PO was released and you can see the serial number, you can go ahead and prove it. But as we know, in many cases, this is not the case. So it can be hard. The recommendation.
Sorry, yeah.
Oh,
sorry, I just unmuted myself.
Oh, hey, guys.
Yeah. All right. So I can explain in words. What I'm after is, can OpenLM only be used onwards to determine my needs, or can I also use that to avoid some compliance case with Autodesk by scanning my workstations?
No.
Or is it only the onwards usage of licenses?
Yeah, like to scan workstations, Autodesk is actually an interesting vendor because in this case, you actually want to use OpenLM with a standard SAM tool like Flexera or ServiceNow SAM Pro. Especially if we integrate with SAM Pro and in tandem with our tool and ServiceNow SAM Pro, you can do both. But just using OpenLM to scan the workstations, no, like Oren said, you can't do that.
Yeah, that's not something that we support. We currently support, and yes, you need a complementary some software that knows how to scan and locate the DLL. Sometimes you left a single DLL from a software, and they tell you you're not compliant anymore. So
I was looking to to put in a nail, and then I attended the webinar for screwdrivers. But thank you. By the way, I'm a partner. I'm not a customer, so I'm just listening here.
Thank you for joining.
But I can see that premium license is something that we can compare your tool to, and maybe get some people on board this way around. Rather than a premium license, it looks like when I look through the material. But I just mute myself.
No.
Thank you too.
Thanks for talking to us.
We have the other question coming from Srivatsan. He is saying that if it is licensed for everyone, can I allocate the user sitting in sub-entity of my org in Germany for the license purchased for my main entity in US? So can I do that?
Yeah. Maybe just this is a legal question. Typically, for example, we allow subsidiaries to use the same license as the mother entity, but it's mainly a contractual question, and there's a need to check the contract with Autodesk. I don't have a generic answer.
No, I agree. I just want to say that for the enterprise, this is a question for the subscription model. And yes, you need to check this with Autodesk. You can just go to their support. But from experience, for their enterprise Tokenflex, they usually offer global licenses. So you are not limited.
Okay.
Right. The next question coming from Nilesh. So do we have network-based license in India as of now in new licensing models?
So you're asking if Autodesk is offering that?
I think so. Yeah. Nilesh, would you like to explore or would you like to elaborate more on this? You can unmute yourself.
Yes. So in any case, I don't know about an offering.
I can answer that, Abhijit, this side. So as far as I know, Autodesk has stopped offering it anymore, for the new customers. And for the existing customers as well, if you procure, I don't think they are providing it anymore because it's a global policy change for Autodesk.
But Abhijit, I'm asking myself, what's the Autodesk solution for a security organization? So if I produce secret stuff or army and so on, I can't use subscription, I can't use Autodesk token. What do they offer to such organization?
Honestly, I'm not aware about that, about what do they offer to the defense organizations who are working on defense-based projects. Yeah, so it might be very specific, customized solution that they might be providing. But my honest answer is that I'm not aware about it. Like, how do they handle such cases? Yeah,
that's why I'm saying my feeling is that these companies will get network license. I think so.
Agree. Yeah.
Okay.
Nilesh has another question for device limitation. My question is, so 3 devices limitation should belong to particular assigned device user, or any of the 3 devices can be in use one at a time, irrespective of the device belong to whom?
Oh.
I can read that one more time.
So
it is restricted to one user, Nilesh. One user can use it on one of the workstation. The AutoCAD application activated can be activated for the same user on 3 machines, but it can be used only once at a time. So that is how by that person, by that assigned user. So that is how it works.
Yeah, hi Abhijit, thanks for answering. But my question was to Oren and everyone. My question was, yeah, it's limited to 3 devices. But my question was, does device belongs to that particular user? Or let's say if this device belongs to, let's say, user A, user B, and user C. But I wanted to use on the 3 users ABC machines. But yes, it can be used one at a time. So device has a limitation. Does it belongs to particular user?
Okay.
It should be named to particular user, or it can be used to irrespective to any of the devices.
Particular user. That's the whole idea behind, It
So,
shouldn't
the scenario is that I have a machine in the office and it's shared. Let's say the engineers are coming in shift.
Yes.
3 engineers coming in shift using the same machine, and they each has a subscription and they all activate it on the same machine. So Branislav, you're saying that's illegal.
Yeah, you shouldn't do it. Yes.
Okay.
And how it is going to track the machines? Does they check with the user logged on?
That the purpose of this discussion is not how can Autodesk track it. I think we are going a little bit over the line here.
Sure.
But it's interesting because there is a NAT in the network. There is a NAT service that hides the IP from the external provider. So basically, they will get the IP of the generic network and not the. Okay. It's interesting. I would say to understand how does it work.
Thanks, Oren. Okay.
Thank you.
Actually, they are providing they are providing the named user license. So whenever exactly they are, let's say assigning to someone, that means that person has to access. So the license Autodesk is giving it's it's called the under the subscription with 1 year with the access of the home user license. So under the home user license, they can access the same license by the same user on their desktop, on their laptop, or on their smart devices. So it's called the named user license.
Yes.
But they are tracking by the users, the information.
I see.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks, Zafar. Okay, going to another question, Vinay Kumari. I know that Abhijit has answered, but in case anything you want to add, Oren and Branislav. Hi, is there any chance how we can confirm whether the AutoCAD application is in real use by the user, or it's just left open unknowingly to make better use of the license where it is required in token-based licenses?
Yes, basically we have the function. Since we have an agent, we can track the activity of the user, and we can say whether the license is active or inactive. And our most popular offering with the previous model, network licenses, was to track users that are either save their project, close the software, and release the license back to the license pool. This is still supported with Autodesk when you have network licenses, and many endless number of vendors that you still use network licenses, and there are many. This functionality is still relevant for the token, as we explained on the if left unused. So I have a story. If we have a minute, but we don't have a minute, so I won't tell the story. Next question, please.
Yeah, the next question is that Manish has asked, Autodesk network to named user license transition is 1:2. We had 50 network licenses and about 550 users. With the named user licenses, we are only entitled to 100 named users,
Yes.
resulting in a huge compliance gap.
Yes.
What be a negotiation strategy?
Wow.
Let me take that. So
Yeah.
this was Oren's slide about data collection and visibility. So the question back to you would be, how are you tracking it right now? How are you tracking what the users do with the licenses? If you are not tracking it at all, come get a tool. We can, don't speak to me for 10 minutes outside of the webinar, and I can show you how in 1 month you can actually gather the data and see the visibility, because this is what all, not just our customers, Autodesk customers are facing. You need data collection. You need to see what are the users using and how are they using. The how is extremely important. What is the session data? How much time is spent by the individual users actually taking those concurrent licenses? Building up on the previous question, if the users are actually using and not just idling and running the program in the back end, and then you need to go and cross map that with the individual business case for each of the users, whether they need the license. If you don't do this, you either just bite the bullet and buy a license for everybody, resulting in a huge, and you were saying compliance gap, but it will be a huge cost for you, or you actually go get the data, reach the visibility, and see how you can optimize. There is no other. There is no other way. There is this should be the before you do the negotiation, you need to have the data for yourself. It's extremely important.
Yeah, Manish also says that the data is collected via ScanWin and log reports.
Yes, I'm looking thank you for sharing that. I didn't know this tool, but it's very nice.
No, ScanWin is how Autodesk is doing the scan, and the log reports, like you really, are you just talking about the RL logs or the FlexLM debug logs? It would be interesting, Manish, if we can connect, sometime after the webinar, maybe tomorrow, RL logs,
Yes. Yes.
Okay, Manish has this. Okay, I don't see any more questions, but we can see if any other questions coming from the audience right now. We can just take it up. We have 1 more minute.
Maybe you know what? If we have a minute, I want to tell you the story.
Yeah.
When I started my career, I was posted in a government organization. And at that time, we used Esri software. It was a GIS software running on Linux. And mainly we did, there was a huge project of the digitization. So making old maps digital. So there were huge digitizers, and people were just tracing the lines manually. And I was new, young engineer, and I've seen someone. I needed a license. There was no license. It was network licenses, but someone was always consuming license. I went to his cube, and I see someone never touching the license. Ask, so why do you consume a license? And so, no, don't ask him. It's a union thing. He's coming in the morning, he's starting the software, taking the license, and then not doing anything, and nobody can tell him anything. So that's my first experience with network licensing, until somehow this problem was solved. So just a story.
Oren, there is one more question from Torben. Do we have the email of the Autodesk official participant? I'm not sure we know this.
I have no idea.
Yeah. Okay. In this meeting, he is asking, I'm not sure, Torben, we know this.
So did we
Okay.
have an official from Autodesk respecting us?
Sorry,
and
sorry,
doing-
sorry. Sorry, I'm just curious who was representing Autodesk today, and can we have the email of this person?
I don't think there was a rep of.
Oh, who was the other guy, the main speaker here, besides you?
Branislav? Branislav is
Yeah, where's he from?
Branislav is our VP support and
Oh, he's
professional
with you.
service.
Oh, so he's with you. Oh, sorry.
You see that now I actually projected as being the guy from Autodesk. That's nice. Thank you.
Branislav, wow, a nice image.
That's that's what I
So,
do in
but maybe I can
my
have
night
your-
shift.
Branislav, perhaps I can have your email if I could have a short word with you afterwards.
No problem, no problem. Ping me and we
I'm
can set
typing
something
this.
together.
Yes, I'm
Yes.
typing it for all of you. Yes.
Super, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, guys, so thank you so much. Any other questions before we can take it? And I have put the survey link. Please do take time after the call or during this call to provide your feedback. We would like to come back again and present to you some interesting topics to make it more interactive and answer to all your questions.
Thank you very much, everyone, for joining. It's a pleasure to speak with you, and
Thank you.
more pleasure when there is interaction and we can talk. And really, thank you very much for taking the time to